Hello, it's time to noontime prayer. I brought the adult Bible study guide of the fourth quarter of 2025, titled Lessons of Faith from Joshua. Let me read all through the 1 through 13 lessons. Contents. Lesson 1, Recipe 4, Success 2, Surprised by Grace 3, Memorials of Grace 4, The Conflict Behind All Conflicts 5, God Fights for You 6, The Enemy Within 7, Ultimate Loyalty, Worship in a War Zone 8, Giants of Faith, Joshua and Caleb 9, Heirs of Promises, Prisoners of Hope 10, The True Joshua 11, Living in the Land 12, God is Faithful, and 13, Choose this day. And lesson 3, today is the Thursday, Memorials of Grace. Memory text: For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over, so that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, that you may fear the Lord your God forever. The Sunday, crossing the Jordan. God does not always part of Jordan. His interventions are not always so obvious. How do you think we can develop the spiritual preparedness to experience and discern God's interventions on our behalf? And Monday, the living God of wonders. Read Luke 18 through 27. How does Jesus' answer to his disciples encourage you to trust God with what seems impossible? And Tuesday, remember, read Joshua 4. Why did God ask the, the Israelites to build a memorial? And what are some of the memorials, personal memorials? From your own walk with the Lord that help you remember what He has done for you. And Wednesday, forgetfulness. Though it is important to remember the past and how the Lord has worked in your life, why must you day by day have an experience with Him and the reality of His love and presence now? Thursday, today, beyond the Jordan, He turned the sea into dry land. They went through the river on foot. There will we will rejoice in him. The book of Psalm 66, verse 6. Both the crossing of the Red Sea and of the Jordan are markers of a new era in biblical history, and both carry symbolic significance. See Psalm 66, 6 and 114, 1 through 7, and 2 Kings 2, 6 through 15. Already in the Old Testament, there are texts that link the two crossing events and recognize a meaning which points beyond the original settings. In Psalm 66, the psalmist celebrated God's redemptive act in his life. Psalm 66, or 16 through 19, by referring to the historical examples of the crossing of the Red Sea and of the Jordan. Psalm 114 also ties the two events together, not because the author did not see a chronological difference between them, but because of the theological significance that the two crossings share. Thus, both events are seen as contributing to a change in Israel's status, once from slavery to freedom, then from nomadic landlessness to nationhood. In these Psalms, the examples of the two crossing illustrate the change in status of the author from oppression, poverty, helplessness, and humiliation to safety, well-being, salvation, and dignity. It is also by the Jordan that Elijah's translation takes place in the context of a similar miracle to the one recorded in Joshua. For Elijah, the crossing brought the most significant status change in his life. He was taken to heaven. For Elisha, the change is also important. The prophet's assistant, 1 Kings 19:21, becomes the prophet of the nation. 2 Kings 2:22. Read Matthew 3:16 and 17 and Mark 1:9. How do these writers of the New Testament imply a symbolic, spiritual meaning of the Jordan River? The earthly ministry of Jesus as the representative of Israel follows the pattern of the history of ancient Israel. Jesus undergoes the Red Sea and the Jordan experiences. He is called out of Egypt after a death decree. Matthew 2:14 through 16. Spends 40 days in the wilderness. Matthew 4:2, similar to ancient Israel's 40 years, and as a transition from his private life to his public ministry. He is baptized in the Jordan, Matthew 3:16, 17, Mark 1:9. Later, Hebrews 3 through 4 recognizes the symbolic significance of the crossing of the Jordan and the presence of the entrance into Canaan as foreshadowing the rest of grace that Christians enter through faith. Yeah, and Friday, the uh, crossing the Jordan, page 483, 484 in Patriarchs and Prophets. Study carefully the experience of Israel in their travels to Canaan. Study the third and the fourth chapters of Joshua, recording their preparation for the passage over the Jordan into the promised land. We need to keep the heart and mind in training by refreshing the memory with the lessons that the Lord taught his ancient people than to us as he designed it should be to them. The teachings of his word will ever be interesting and impressive. The SDA Bible Commentary, Volume 2, page 994. Modern Israel are in greater danger of forgetting God and being led into idolatry than were his ancient people. Many idols are worshipped even by professed Sabbath keepers. God especially charged his ancient people to guard against idolatry, for if they should be led away from serving the living God, his curse would rest upon them, while if they would love him with all their heart, with all their soul, and with all their might, he would abundantly bless them in basket and in store, and would remove sickness from the midst of them. The testimony for the church, volume 1, uh, page 609. 609 by Ellen White. There are three discussion questions. Number one, discuss in your class the miraculous crossing of the Jordan. How would you define miracles? Why does it seem that God is not performing similar miracles today? Number two, what practical ways can you suggest in your class for preventing spiritual forgetfulness, both as individuals or as a church? While it is important that we have an ongoing, dynamic dynamic relationship with God, and that we don't build our whole Christian experience on powerful past experiences. How can we still use our past experiences as reminders of how God has worked in our lives? Number three, how do you think the Sabbath can, on the one hand, help us remember God's interventions in our lives, and on the other, give us a foretaste of the promised rest in His kingdom? How does the Sabbath point not only to what we are supposed to remember, but to what we can hope for in the future? Yeah, amen. Yeah, let's go to pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen, amen. May God bless all of you. Yeah, let's go together. Amen.